QBox monitoring allows an NLP-based production chatbot to be reviewed for weaknesses in the NLP data model, using real user input to validate and score the model. If used regularly, these scores can provide a useful metric that shows how well the chatbot is responding to real user questions and whether it's improving with time. Additionally, by visualizing and exposing any weaknesses present in the NLP data model, QBox monitoring makes decisions about how to improve the chatbot clearer. When you first start the monitoring process, it's advisable to monitor your model every day. As a guideline, set aside 1 hour per day for this process, and you should be able to review at least 50 questions in that hour. And as you get up to speed, this potentially could be increased to around 100 questions per hour. QBox monitoring gives you the option to set a maximum review size, which I'll show you shortly. To start monitoring your model, you'll need to go to the Monitored Models screen. This feature is not available to users of the free trial account. You'll first have had to connect your model using the direct connection function. If you click on the Manage Models button, this will take you to the direct connections and monitoring screen, and there is a guide here on how to connect to your NLP provider. This direct connection must be to your live environment. Once you have done this, you'll see all the models that you've connected. If you have models with different NLP providers, each provider and its corresponding model will have a separate tab. The confidence threshold is set to a default value of 40%, but this can be changed here. You can use a slider to adjust to your model's own confidence threshold so that QBox can determine whether the user would have received an intent answer or the low confidence response. I'll go more into detail about this shortly. You can also choose to stop monitoring your model from here too. Next, click on the arrow next to the Generate New List button. The first time you monitor your model, you have one option to get a new collection, where QBox will request the most up-to-date live data log from this model. Subsequent monitoring sessions will give you the option to get a new collection or go to the last collection, i.e. from the last time QBox collected the live data log for this model. If you're monitoring your model on a daily basis, it's probably recommended to select the Get New Collection option. You can also choose the maximum number of user questions you wish to review, up to a maximum of 1,000. Then click again on the Generate New List button, and this will generate a list of user questions from the live data logs and may take a minute or two. So this took a few minutes and I've skipped that part of the video. And you can now see my list of questions that have been generated. So once the questions have been generated, at the top of the screen you'll see a summary of the total questions generated, along with the number of questions that have been automatically reviewed by QBox, along with the details of the reviewing time saved from this automation, and the number of questions that need to be reviewed by you. The questions that have automatically been reviewed by QBox will include any duplicate questions and ones that are already in the ground truth, i.e. ones that have already been marked correct in previous monitoring sessions. So when you first start your monitoring of your model, the amount of questions automatically being reviewed will be low, but over time the ground truth will grow and therefore the automation will get higher, with fewer questions having to be manually reviewed. Further down will be the list of questions to be reviewed. They'll be grouped into the intents returned for those questions, with the intents in alphabetical order. You can jump to a particular intent here. For each question, you'll see the confidence returned on the right, and then you simply mark each question. Click on the tick for questions that have returned the correct intent, a cross for questions that have returned the incorrect intent, and if it's a question that's not covered by your NLP model, for instance, it's off topic, it's irrelevant, it should be marked as ignore. If you need to be reminded of what an intent covers, you can hover here and you'll get the full list of your training data for this intent. If a question is incorrect, as in it's returned the incorrect intent, when you click on the cross, a drop-down box will appear for you to mark the correct intent that this question should have returned. Then you click on the Confirm button once selected. So this action doesn't actually train the NLP model, as this is not about updating your model. It's purely for grading how the chatbot did, to help us retrain the model later, and this will be explained shortly. Again, to be reminded of the training data for the new intent, you can find this here. If a question returned an intent, but it was below the confidence threshold set in step 2, i.e. the user would have been given your below confidence response, this will be shown as a triangle warning on the tick box. The question can still be marked as correct if it definitely is correct, or incorrect or ignore as appropriate. But it just means that you may need to do some training later on to improve the confidence score. Again, this doesn't actually train the model. It's purely for marking it. Once all questions have been marked, click on the Complete Review button towards the top of the screen. The next screen will show the review summary again, with the addition of the accuracy here. This is the percentage of questions classified correctly in this review. You will also see the list of questions that you have marked as incorrect from your review. These will be the questions that need to be trained in your NLP model. But first, you will need to create a benchmark test by clicking on the Create Benchmark Test button at the top of the screen. This benchmark is a test of your current production NLP model in its current state and will enable you to compare these test results with the test results of the NLP model post-training. Whilst your bench model test is running, you can see a summary screen of the questions marked, accuracy, and the list of incorrect questions. If your model is built in IBM's Watson Assistant, the action of creating a benchmark test will create a draft model within your instance for you to train on. Once the benchmark test is complete, open the test results and you will see the usual overview screen, with the addition of the list of questions to be trained. This will include all questions marked as incorrect in your review, as well as any questions that have been marked as correct but below confidence. Select the first intent and you will see the usual correctness distribution graph in Advanced View, with the addition of the questions marked incorrectly shown as squared dots on this graph. You can then go into your NLP model and apply the training changes needed to fix the questions or improve the confidence. And when you've finished fixing them, you can go back to QBox and click on the Rerun Test button here. Once this is complete, go to the test results for the new test you have just run. Go into each intent for the corrected questions to ensure they are now correct, above confidence, and with a good level of clarity. And we suggest a minimum score of 20 for clarity. Then go to the Change Analysis tab to ensure there is no or minimum regression caused by the training changes made. If you do need to do any further training changes, either because your incorrect questions are still not fixed or because an intent has regressed due to your training changes, you can go back to your NLP model, make the necessary changes, and then rerun the test again. And QBox will compare this and any other subsequent tests done against the benchmark test. You can repeat this process as many times as necessary. QBox will inform you which test is the best test, i.e. the one which has the highest scores, and this benchmark test can be used to assess your chatbot over time. Once full training has been completed, you can then publish your NLP model to live. If you're using IBM Watson Assistant, you can publish the draft model to live by using this feature.